Hello and welcome to this webinar from City and Guilds. Are you ready for EPA? With me today is Janice Collins, who's going to do an overview of the EPA process, going through the steps towards EPA, a little bit about our systems and bookings, and then where to find help and support. And then followed by myself, Paul Tunnicliffe, where I'm going to go through some specific automotive facts, a little bit about the showcase and resources, timings, and what happens after EPA in terms of results. And then we'll have a bit of time for questions after that.
The endpoint assessment is broken into 8 stages. We have a comprehensive guide to each stage of the endpoint assessment and various help guides on our website. Follow the link at the bottom of this page. Stage 1 of the endpoint assessment is choosing the endpoint assessment organisation. This is the point where you and your employer will sit down together and decide which endpoint assessment organisation to use. Stage 2, getting set up with an endpoint assessment agreement. If you are new to endpoint assessment and City and Guilds, you will need to complete the EPA form on our website. This will allow you access to walled garden to make the application. If there is a qualification as part of your standard, you will also need to complete the quality approval form in walled garden for the qualification. Once you have completed the form, we will confirm your EPA agreement within 2 working days. At this point, it is also a good time to actually check and test the various software we will use throughout the endpoint assessment. For any knowledge tests, it would be our Evolve platform for online testing, and for any remote assessment, we would use GoToMeeting. Stage 3, EPA registration. Once you've set up with the standard, you can then start to register learners. Registration fee is £25 for every standard we offer, and this gives you access to the endpoint assessment preparation tool for the learner, which helps them prepare their soft skills required during professional discussions and presentations, etc. And also provides tutors with access to mock knowledge tests and additional resources to support them throughout the apprenticeship, and also lead IEPA reports, which are reports produced every 6 months by our leapers to explain to centres the good and bad practice we've seen at endpoint assessment, so you can guide and help support your learners through the feedback we're giving. That's been obviously a general feedback across the different endpoint assessment assessors. Stage 4 would be the gateway, when you sign off the actual learner with the employer. It's good at this point to actually complete the gateway declaration form and get all the paperwork required for upload, which would be the declaration form, the mandatory qualification if applicable, and the functional skills certificates or exemptions required, as this will be needed at the following stage. EPA booking request. We expect you to register the learners, and then the booking is completed at this stage. This is the stage when you will tell us the preferred date and also the location for the endpoint assessment. There's a number of screens within Walled Garden that must be completed to allow access to the EPA portal, which we'll cover in further detail. Once you've got access to the EPA portal, you have 10 days in which to upload your evidence. We will check on day 11. If at this stage you have not uploaded your information and you get past day 11, you will then need to email epa@cityandguilds.com once you've uploaded the gateway evidence, so we can then check it and move the booking on to confirming the date. Bookings are actually confirmed once the gateway has been passed. You will then, within 30 days of the gateway being passed and having that email, you will then be contacted by the booking team. This is generally to the email address of the person who was named in Walled Garden as the booking contact. We will then issue you with a booking confirmation form, which you need to sign and return to confirm the date. At this point, this is when the date is locked in and confirmed. And any changes after that date may incur a charge. The EPA event is the event obviously taking place. Once all the elements of the endpoint assessment are completed, we then issue the results to Walled Garden within 20 days. We then also request a certificate from the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical. And we will also issue you with a statement of achievement. Our current registration and booking process and the information we need at each stage. We use Walled Garden for completing both the registration and booking request stages. At registration, we require from you the details of the learner: the first name, the surname, their date of birth, their gender, their unique learner number, the apprenticeship start date and the proposed end date, and details of the employer. When you want to turn the registration into a booking request, you will need to go back into the Walled Garden system and book an on-demand Walled Garden test. You will need to pick up the cohort of learners or learner to complete the booking. We will ask you for the proposed EPA date, the EPA product code. Please remember that this code will be different if you are booking a recit. We also require your PO reference number for the invoice. During the booking request stage, we also require you to complete the EPA booking information screen on Walled Garden. Previously, this information was gathered through a data capture form. You must complete the employer tab, including the employer details, employer contact, and include their email, postcode, and contact telephone number. We also require the EPA booking information. For this, we need the centre contact and their contact details. The EPA event contact. This may be the same person, but you would still need to complete the boxes on the section if it is the same person as the contact centre person. The access arrangements for the day, i.e., is there PIN codes to get into the building, anything that the endpoint assessor would need to know on the day. We also require the apprenticeship start date and end date, and whether the apprenticeship is funded or unfunded. All these details must be completed on the booking form to allow the booking to proceed to the next stage. If any of this information is not provided, it will have a delay on access to the EPA portal to upload your mandatory evidence. If you have any problems completing the forms, please contact the EPA Customer Success Team. EPA timescales. We need a minimum of 7 weeks notice. If you are making a booking request today, you'll be making a booking for the end of November, subject to validity evidence for gateway being validated. At this stage, it is a preferred date and not confirmed until you receive a booking form and you sign and return that form confirming the date you would like the event to take place. Evidence must be validated before we can confirm the date. We use within City Guilds several systems as part of the endpoint assessment process, and I thought it useful just to explain the different systems and what is used when during the process. Walled Garden is our system used to place registrations and booking requests. You will input all your apprenticeship details and request your preferred date within this system. Once you have requested your date and completed the correct employer and EPA booking tabs, you will gain access to the EPA portal. You will first upload all your gateway evidence, including certificates, evidence of English and Maths attainment, and the mandatory qualification, and the gateway declaration form. If required, you will also upload any evidence required as part of the assessment process. For the hair and barbering standard, this would be your learner's appointment schedule for the day of the endpoint assessment. This must be uploaded 10 working days prior to the endpoint assessment taking place. We will then finally use the last system of Walled Garden again to issue you with your learner's result within 20 days of the endpoint assessment taking place. Five top tips for the perfect EPA booking. 1. Register early. Register apprentices early and paying £25 upfront fee ensures your apprentices have access to the endpoint preparation tool. It also gives your staff access to lead IEPA's reports and other guides and mock assessments to help you prepare your learners for their event. 2. Get booking data ready. We cannot process a booking until all fields in the booking requirement section, in the on-demand section of Walled Garden, are completed. If fields are missing, the booking will not proceed to the next stage. It's therefore important that when you try to make a booking, you know exactly the address where you'd like the event to take place and all the other relevant information. Not providing this information will slow your booking down. 3. Get gateway declaration ready to go. Ensure that you have your gateway declaration completed by all 3 parties and ready to upload once you have access to the EPA portal. please do not miss the upload window, as this will slow your booking down further. If you do miss the window, please ensure that you email EPA at City and Guilds to complete this process. 4. Group learners in orders. If you have a group of learners on the same standard and you know you will want to complete the apprenticeship EPA together, then please put those learners on one order form, as this will help our admin team to process your event. 5. Only book what you need to. By this we mean book the correct product code. If you know you're only booking a reset, it may be only one element of the EPA that needs to be reset. You will need to check our master product codes to ensure you use the correct 6-digit product code. Finally, when you're trying to make bookings, ensure that the user has the correct authority within Walled Garden. To book the event, your staff will need to be a primary or secondary user. It will not allow learners with other permissions to book the events.
In this slide, we're just going to go over some of the EPA gateway requirements for automotive. So there are some differences between the light vehicle technician, the heavy vehicle, and the auto care. For light and heavy technician, both need the level 2 maths and English. If this evidence is with City and Guilds, we will accept the Walled Garden evidence of achievement or certification. For the auto care, the requirement is for level 1 maths and English, with attempted at level 2. Finally, you will need the evidence for the mandatory qualification included on the light vehicle technician standard, which is the FGAS. If this is being done with City and Guilds, again, we will accept Walled Garden evidence or certificate. The qualification to meet the requirement with City and Guilds is the 7543-01, which is the level 3 award in basic mobile air conditioning. If in any doubt, check our documents and check the EPA pack for details of the EPA gateway requirements.
The contacts that you've got on the screen show you the different contacts that you can contact in terms of EPA partnership managers across the country. So please feel free to note those numbers down and contact any of us if need be. We also have the customer success team headed up by Joe Howell, who will help with any general inquiries or getting you access to any of the systems or helping you get in touch with the right team to reset passwords for systems, etc. So please feel free to contact any of us if required. I also thought it very important just to share with you on a wider scale the different teams that can help you with different elements of the endpoint assessment. If you've got any queries around the actual products, you've got the sales team that are more than happy to help you in our Wakefield office. If you speak to the team, and especially to Jess and Sam within that team, they look after endpoint assessment. We have obviously a dedicated team that help you with the application process and getting through that system. So please use the EPA application team for that area. Obviously, we've already mentioned on the previous slide the EPA customer success team on the spot. They can give any general inquiries. You've got their number available too. And obviously, we can't forget the technical advisors, and Paul especially on the automotive, who can obviously help you with any of the technical queries around the on-programme or the actual EPA support, which I know Paul is going to go through with you further on today in today's session. The EPA booking team can be contacted using the email epa@cityguilds.com. So if you've got any queries on your actual booking and needing to confirm or alter dates, and please contact that team. And for any general queries around the platforms, Walled Garden, SmartScreen and Evolve, please contact the customer service team.
Okay, in this section, we're going to look at some frequently asked questions around getting to Gateway and preparing for EPA. After you've received access to the EPA portal, you will need to upload the Gateway evidence to us. Our EPA team will work with you to get this uploaded, for example, the Maths and English evidence, the declaration form, and any other mandatory evidence such as the FCAS evidence for light vehicle. At this point, you can also upload the Showcase portfolio evidence if it's ready. But if you, the apprentice and the employer, are still preparing this evidence, you can continue to work on it. You must, however, upload the Showcase portfolio no later than 10 days before the actual EPA event. This will allow the IEPA enough time to review the evidence in preparation for the professional discussion. Make sure you have a quality assurance process in place to check quality and only upload the strongest evidence. If you have been using our apprenticeship training manual, you can select a Showcase sample from the apprenticeship training manual that meets the requirements of the standard. Once we have the assessment evidence required, we will remove your access to the EPA portal for this booking to protect the submission for assessment. We will send the assessment evidence to our independent endpoint assessor, the IEPA, for review before the EPA event. So what does the Showcase portfolio require? This slide is looking at the light vehicle technician standard as an example. The assessment plan refers to a logbook with a minimum of 5 pieces of evidence, along with evidence for the required behaviours. This can be summarised as service inspection evidence, and then evidence from engines, chassis, transmission and auxiliary electrical, which involve complex repairs. If you use the City Guilds Apprenticeship Training Manual, there will be plenty of evidence from the final year tasks and the behaviour evidence, which can be chosen and then submitted to the IEPA. The key here is to make sure that you meet the assessment plan requirements without including unnecessary evidence or evidence that isn't useful for the IEPA. The IEPA is trying to understand the apprentice's skill level and behaviours at endpoint assessment, so the evidence must be recent, at the right level and sufficient. Consider uploading the best evidence to us from the final year of the training, which covers all the areas of the vehicle. The apprentice needs to show their best work. After the gateway requirements are met, the apprentices must sit the 2 endpoint assessment knowledge exams. Knowledge tests on our Evolve platform cannot be taken before the gateway has been passed and the booking is confirmed. The Evolve assessment should be booked 5 working days in advance of the assessment date and can be sat on the scheduled date or up to 30 days after. The test could become null and void if completed outside the allowed window. Check the requirements for your individual standard, as in most cases the knowledge test must have been passed before other assessments can take place. Please refer to the endpoint assessment pack for further information. Any resits must follow the assessment plan guidelines and would limit the overall grade on automotive endpoint assessment to a pass. Remember, endpoint assessment success is all about preparation. Use our great resources such as the EPA Prep tool to help prepare your apprentices for the big day. You can find this prep tool on Smart Screen under the heading shown. We also have exemplar resources in the same section with tips, advice, and frequently asked questions to help you get the apprentices' endpoint assessment ready. Don't forget, the EPA pack is really the Bible for the EPA. You will find detailed information on the EPA process and the steps moving up to Gateway. You will also find information such as resource requirements for endpoint assessment, along with detailed information on the knowledge test requirements and the professional discussion. As I mentioned previously, it's all about preparation. Make sure the apprentices understand the importance of arriving on time. We would normally advise coaching them to arrive at least 30 minutes before the EPA briefing. They will need to bring with them photo ID, food and drink for the day, and the relevant PPE. Remind the apprentices to focus on the EPA as a synoptic assessment. The EPA will be making a judgment on the overall performance. Most of all, teach them to be resilient and not to give up. These next two slides give you an idea of how the timings will be for a one-day assessment. So that's auto care and heavy vehicle, and the two-day assessment, which applies to light vehicle technician. There will be time slots allocated for the professional discussion in the afternoon. The light vehicle technician is a two-day assessment. Please remember these timings are a guide only. In some situations, the apprentices may complete more tasks in Tier 1, so the professional discussion could happen earlier. However, it would be advisable to prepare the apprentices to be ready to stay for the full 2 days in case they need the full time allocated. The next slide will cover some information about what happens after endpoint assessment has been completed. The apprentice won't receive the results on the day of the endpoint assessment. We will have the results ready to view on the walled garden within 20 days. We don't give feedback if the apprentice passes the EPA. If the apprentice fails, we will give constructive feedback. A statement of achievement will also be provided along with the Institute for Apprenticeships certificate. Okay, thank you for listening to that presentation. We're just going to check now and see if there's any questions from the panel of attendees. So we've got a few coming in. If you want to type in, I'll see if I can answer 3 or 4 before we sign off. So I've got one here. Do you offer any support with the setup of EPA? We are shortly coming up to making reservations for our first apprentices. So yeah, my role as a technical advisor, that's something I can help with. So either over a Skype conversation or face-to-face, I can come into to the college or the training provider and give you some advice on sort of vehicle positioning, tools and equipment. But remember, in the EPA pack, there is a resources list, and also on our Smart Screen EPA section there is some useful tips and tricks for setup. Another question there, do you have any detailed information on the EPA knowledge exams? Again, I would refer you to the EPA pack, where the knowledge exams are broken down in detail, so you can see how many questions are going to be asked from each section. Be quite useful as well for tutors when they're planning schemes of work or planning what they're going to deliver, to have a good look at the knowledge requirements section in the EPA pack. Someone's asking there, how many apprentices can be observed by one endpoint assessor? So the ratio for this particular, well, for all the automotive standards is 3 to 1, so that would be a maximum of 3 apprentices with one endpoint assessor. What we've found so far with the events that we've run is that ratio is a comfortable ratio to operate the EPA. And another question there, when do we actually get the results? So we try and get the results back to you within 20 days. And as mentioned in the presentation, the apprentice will get a breakdown, a record of achievement from City Guilds, and also obviously the Institute for Apprenticeships certificate will be available as well. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you got something out of that. It has been recorded, so we'll share it around the City Guilds network and the website, so you can view it again in your own time. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.